Welcome back. Nikki Haley is taking one on the chin as she battles to catch up to Trump's whopping lead. Take a look at this town hall exchange on the campaign trail yesterday.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
No, you've answered my question.
This morning, Haley struck back at concerns over those remarks.
Everybody thinks that the Civil War is about slavery. It was more, what's the bigger issue of it? So if it required clarification of saying, yes, the Civil War was about slavery, I'm happy to do that. But look, I know it very well. I'm a Southern governor. I fought and took down the Confederate flag in South Carolina. I am very aware of what that is. But for us to move forward as a country, what's the lesson in it? And the lesson is every person deserves their freedom, and we have to always fight for it every single day.
But all in all, she's still light years behind Trump, along with the four other Republican candidates trying to catch up to him.
So what are they all up to? Well, Vivek dropped broadcast ads in favor of social ads. DeSantis is throwing out a punch or two of his own in Iowa, but still struggling to make any progress. You've got Christie on the ropes, but not giving up on New Hampshire. And somehow Asa Hutchinson hasn't tapped out of the ring just yet.
I didn't actually realize Asa Hutchinson is still in the race.
His campaign is on financial life support, but he's basically saying we're staying in.
I think it's interesting that Vivek Ramaswamy, he's taken down the network ads and he's running, streaming ads, digital ads. He's doing mailers. And again, that can be effective, but you want an all of the above approach. And so what that signals is he is running out of money.
Yeah.
There's not as much cash there, and so you can't get on networks, so you got to do digital. Not a good sign for him as he goes into Iowa.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. And we've got Rich Lowry with us now. So I want to go to him and ask him if we can backtrack for a moment and just talk about what happened with Nikki Haley and how she handled that. The backtrack was the day after when she had a moment, Rich, to be able to kind of think about it. She could have made that clarification right there, but yet she chose not to. And as Sean points out, she's way behind in the polls right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird moment. She was visibly uncomfortable with this question. It was like she felt trapped by this question. She was totally at sea at how to answer this question, which is a very basic question. So it was not a great moment for her. She's cleaned it up. She's not a racist. She knows what the root of the Civil War was, obviously, but there's some reason that she just couldn't answer this basic question. So, yeah, you look at the national polling. Trump hit 70, I think, in a national poll the other day. He's romping in Iowa. But, Nikki Haley is within hailing distance in New Hampshire. So if you just look at the polling in isolation in New Hampshire, you'd say Haley maybe has a 30-40% chance of catching him in New Hampshire. The problem is if he has a big win in Iowa, presumably that gives him momentum. It's going to be harder to catch in New Hampshire. And even if Haley wins in New Hampshire, kind of an unusual state because independents and Democrats can play a big role there. Where does she go, right? Where's the other state that kind of has that makeup? She talks about Michigan. That's the fifth contest on the calendar. So this is like an 80-90% proposition for Trump to win this nomination.
Rich, when we look at this, and Donald Trump specifically, authenticity matters. And when Donald Trump gives an answer, that that's actually what he thinks, and it might cause him political problems. There might be, the left might be outraged by what he says, but that's what he thinks. And you could tell with the answer that Nikki Haley was given, she was trying to think about what is the right political strategy for me to answer this question. Yeah. And you can talk about freedom. You can talk about that's what the Civil War was about, but it was also about slavery, and that she couldn't say that. She's trying to navigate the politics of the question. Yeah. As opposed to telling us what she actually thinks. And that's what's wrong with Nikki Haley and so many of the candidates that are running in the primary.
Yeah, I would say, and I like DeSantis, I like Nikki Haley. Yeah. But so often, you're so right, you feel the gears whirring in their head every time they answer a question. And you never feel that with Trump, right? Trump may give a bad answer. He might give an answer he has to clean up. But he always feels as though he's just saying what he believes in the moment and what he thinks fearlessly. And that's the key thing. Fearlessly. There's never a sense of nervousness or overcalculation with Trump. He's letting it all hang out. Now, that has downsides, believe me, but it does go to authenticity. It goes to a certain kind of strength. And it's one of the reasons he's leading this race.
And actually, Trump would rarely clean up. He would usually double down, which was pretty amazing. Yeah. But let me just ask you about the ones at the bottom of the list. So I can see why DeSantis and Haley are still there. Even make the argument of why Vivek is still hanging in with the social media ads and everything else. But Christie and Hutchinson, I believe, said his campaign is literally living paycheck to paycheck, hand and mouth here. Then why not just drop out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. That's a great question to ask, like, the day after he got in. I mean, this was a pointless campaign from the beginning, obviously a hopeless campaign. A non-factor, though. He's not going to affect anyone one thing, any race, any primary or caucus one way or the other with a 0 to 1%. The one who could potentially be a spoiler for the non-Trump forces, such as they are, is Chris Christie. If he stays, at 10, 14% in New Hampshire, and if New Hampshire looks kind of like it is now or gets a little bit closer, that's potentially a decisive amount that would go to Haley if Christie got out. But Christie's sitting there, and saying, look, you guys thought DeSantis was great, and look, he's done nothing but sink. You think Nikki Haley was great. Look at this terrible answer she gave. The problem Christie has is even in New Hampshire, his unfavorable rating, this is the best state, is like 60%.
Yeah. So
there's no way you're going to win a nomination, obviously, being that unpopular with your own party.
Because you're not going to win a primary by just attacking Donald Trump. That's the main push of your campaign. It's not going to work. Rich Lowry, always a pleasure to see you. Happy New Year.